We are going. We're live. What's up?
We live?
Yeah, we're live. Bear with us. Michael and I don't stream much. Definitely not together.
We're streaming now, baby. Okay. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. You're right, Ryan. I should not be watching this delayed 10-second thing. It's really tripping me out. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like minimize this window so all I can see is the chat. There we go. And then I got the chat over here. All right, we're good. All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody to our live stream. We're super, super excited that everybody's here. Looks like we've got quite a few people here. So we are really stoked to share with you what we've been working on today, which is a project called Remix. My name is Michael Jackson.
I'm Ryan Florence.
My partner Ryan Florence over here. And we're super stoked to share with you what we've been working on. So Remix is a framework that we've been working on it for like the last year or so. And the way that we like to describe it is it's a framework for building better websites. What do we mean by that? So Ryan and I have quite a bit of experience doing different things on the web. We've been around for a while. So a little bit about me, I guess my background, I've spent a lot of time doing different startups. The biggest startup I ever worked at was a little startup called Twitter in San Francisco. I was there for a while. And then I've tried a couple of my own startups, and always building stuff to do with the web, always stuff around the web. Been doing React obviously for the last 5 or 6 years. Ryan and I built React Router together. We've been working on that since 2015, I think. So it's been a while. We've currently got React Router version 6, which we've been working really hard on, and that is kind of a core piece of Remix. And it is the largest open source, third-party open source React library that is in use today. So it's huge. It's used by millions of people all over the world. Ryan's background is also in the web. He does a lot of JavaScript. He was at Instructure for a while, so you might have heard of Canvas. It's a learning management system. So we both got a lot of history in the web, and we both used Moo tools back in the day, used our fair share of jQuery, Prototype, all that kind of stuff. We've been around and used a lot of different things. And what we are kind of looking for, and what we really wish existed for React, was a web framework that was focused on the fundamentals of the web. There are a lot of options out there when you're building an app with React. There's a lot of stuff for building web apps with React, and a lot of React sites end up with hundreds of kilobytes or megabytes of JavaScript on the page. There's a huge emphasis on, rendering things, making everything static, which really breaks down when you have like a user session or somebody actually logs into your site. And I think in a lot of ways, a lot of the options out there have kind of skipped over, a lot of things that we've learned about building websites over the years. Things that have to do with, like HTTP fundamentals, doing data mutations using forms and things like that. So we, like I said, we built React Router. We always wished that React Router was more of like part of a more like full-fledged framework. And Remix is our attempt at making, a full-on web framework. Not just the routing piece, but like everything else that we know and love about the web, combined with React Router to make this like just an awesome experience for React Router users. There's millions of React Router users right now who we feel like just could be better served. And so that's what Remix is supposed to do. Remix is the next level if you're building a React Router app. Remix will give you like server rendering and code splitting and all the great stuff that you would otherwise have to do for yourself. So we also run, for the last couple of years, we've been running a business called React Training, reacttraining.com. We've been giving workshops, traveling around the world, teaching people about React. We still do run that business. Brad and Chance are probably in the live stream right now. They totally rock. We love them. We work with them very closely on React Training, and they are great instructors. So if you need training, head to reacttraining.com. But COVID kind of slowed down our like ability to meet in person, obviously, our workshop business. And so Ryan and I have been digging in on this on the software side for the last year. So far, it's going pretty well. We opened our preview launch. We're calling it our supporter preview. And we launched this back in October 29th, actually. So just over 6 months ago. Wait, is that 6 months? November, December, January, February, March, April. That's exactly 6 months. So we launched that. It's been going pretty well. We have over 400 subscribers so far, which is awesome. We're just so super stoked about that. And thank you to all of our subscribers who are here now, who have tuned in, who have really been like showing that they believe in us. We are so stoked and just so happy to be there. We've been having some great discussions in the Discord channel. If you're a subscriber to Remix, you know, some people who have been subscribers have said like that's worth the license fee alone is just worth it being in that Discord, talking to other people who are also knowledgeable about the web, learning about things like HTML, HTTP fundamentals, CSS, that type of thing. So I think that Discord channel has actually proven to be like a really great value for people. So thank you anyway so much. And there are a lot of really super knowledgeable people there too, who are helping each other, do Remix, building effective web apps. It's just really cool. So thank you so much if you've already subscribed. Today we are super stoked to launch a beta. What does that mean? So it's been a little rocky, not gonna lie, over the last 6 months. We have changed, some things, some of our assumptions, some of our core assumptions about how Remix was going to behave and what it was changed. And so, we've had some breaking changes over the last 6 months. And I think right now it has really, really started to settle down. The breaking changes now that we had, so I just shipped 0.17 this morning. Mainly it's just improvements. It's improvements, it's removing old cruft, from old assumptions that we had that are not, that we've changed. And so things are really kind of settling down and evening out now. And so today, Ryan and I feel comfortable actually recommending, that you build stuff and you ship stuff to production using Remix. And we are here to support you every step of the way on that. It's been quite a road to get here, like I said, but we're really there. We are already building, everything that we do is using Remix. A lot of our customers have already built and deployed stuff using Remix. And so today we are putting 100% recommendation. We think Remix is the best thing out there for building websites with React. We do not anticipate any more major breaking API changes, though there might be like one or two, which is why we've got the beta label on it. But if there are, we will have full support. Like, here's how you walk through it, and we'll be here for you. From here on out, it's just focusing on tightening the developer user experience, bug squashing, and then introducing even more support for even more providers. Yeah, one of the coolest features about Remix is we don't actually want to own your whole stack, right? You could be deploying to Netlify or Vercel or Firebase or Heroku or AWS Lambda or whatever, Cloudflare workers. We don't care. Like, we're just happy that we have so many amazing options today for building apps. And we think you should be able to pick the one that's best suited for you. So Remix is all about options, giving you options to build your app. And we support all of those providers, and we'll be introducing support for more of them soon. But anyway, I feel like I'm just kind of going on. I'm just kind of talking at this point. Ryan is chomping at the bit, waiting for his chance to really show you and write some code and show you what Remix is all about. So without any further delay, I'm going to turn it over to him, and we're going to talk about, what does it mean? What does it mean, Ryan, that you can deploy a Remix app anywhere?
Yeah. Okay, so check this out. We are going to create a Remix app and ship it to AWS Lambda. So npm init remix. Sparkles. Get this a little bit bigger for you. Where would you like to create your app? Yeah, my Remix app. Where do you want to deploy? So this is what Michael was talking about. We're going to have more options in here just out of the box. We're going to go to AWS Lambda. You can use some TypeScript. And sure, you can run npm install. That'd be great. Detected our Remix token. It is paid software, and so we have a private npm registry. And the way that works is you get this token, and usually it's just an environment variable in CI or on your local computer to get stuff installed. I heard npm 7 is even faster. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, Ryan and I have this. Ryan likes the fact that Yarn uses the same letters that are in his name.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time convincing Ryan to use npm. We go back and forth on it.
All right, so check this out. So now I've got my Remix app here, and like Michael was saying, we don't want to own your server all the time. So with Architect, you can say arc sandbox, and now Architect is running our sandbox here on localhost 3333. And then over here, we're going to run the Remix dev server. And so now I should be able to pop open. We got a Remix app running on Architect, their little environment there. Let's deploy this. I'm going to do npm run build. That was fast. We use ES build, so it's super snappy. And now we're going to say arc deploy. So this is going to take just a minute, not too long. Architect is a great. This isn't Remix that I'm doing right here. This is arc.codes or Architect. I've enjoyed working with this, and I always kind of wanted to deploy to AWS Lambda, and they just made it super easy. It's just as easy to deploy to Vercel. It's just as easy to deploy to Netlify. In production, Remix is actually only two things. It's a function that's an HTTP request handler, and then it's your assets for the browser. And then AWS Lambda just calls into the Remix request handler, and then the request handler sends a response back, and then off it goes. And so we've deployed to a few places ourselves. We've got customers who have literally deployed like everywhere, from like their own VPS. They're setting up Nginx all the way to Cloudflare workers.
People are deploying on Amazon API gateway. Yeah, it's like you said. We we don't even like officially support Cloudflare workers yet. We're on the cusp of it. It's like right there, but people have already deployed there, so they stole my thunder.
Hey, we're in production on a Lambda. So that's the experience we want everywhere, and we want to be able to plug into GitHub Actions or whatever your platform has. Like Vercel has auto deploys from GitHub, Netlify has that kind of stuff, and so Remix is going to be compatible with all those things. So that's one of the like core philosophies of Remix, is that you should be able to own your stack, you should be able to own your server, and you should be able to deploy anywhere, because there's so many cool things that people are doing. I'm going to hop out of here, and now let's actually go and check out an app here. So I'm gonna. This is a different one. This one actually uses Remix's built-in app server. So if you don't want to bring your own server, you can. And let's check this one out. Oh, not 333. We're going 3000. All right. Welcome to Remix. That is a beautiful, beautiful app. Okay, I'm gonna build an app. A little mini project manager with, of course, we're going to do some checkboxes to do things from 0 to 60, and we're going to see how this looks. It's going to be talking to a database. It could be Postgres. I'm just using SQLite, Yeah, we're gonna just kind of see what Remix looks like. So Remix apps live in this app folder. See, we've got a handful of folders in here. The only things that really matter are these three files. We've got your entry server. So this is the first thing that happens after your server is done, your real server like Express or AWS Lambda or Vercel. After that server goes, it comes and calls into here. And you'll notice right here, you're actually calling render to string yourself. So this is boilerplate that your app does. Remix gives you control of every entry point, from the server entry point to the React rendering entry point. And you see here, we're even returning our new response. So we technically don't even need to return HTML from your server entry. And from there, once we hit the client, you've got your client entry. React DOM types don't understand that you can hydrate the document. But what does that mean? All right, root. Check out our root.
What does that mean?
Right here. Feel bad for people who say route the same way as root, because this is your root route.
It's the root.
Root. Okay, here's our root route. We got a document component here with HTML on it. So you actually get to control the whole document with React, which means that you can put whatever kinds of things you want up inside of here. We're going to see a whole bunch of stuff in here. We can handle errors with error boundaries, all sorts of good stuff. But first thing I want to do is just add a link to my styles. So I'm going to say style sheet, and I need an href here, but I don't know where it's at. So I'm going to go import my styles from styles. I think it's global CSS. If I open this up, yep, there we go. And that is actually going to give me just the URL. So Remix is going to process that. It's going to copy it, put a fingerprint on it for long-term caching, and then hand it to me, and that'll be in the browser public build directory. So I can just put it right here in a link tag. Ooh, that looks a little bit better now. So what is it actually rendering? Where's this coming from? I don't see welcome to Remix anywhere inside of here. We do have this outlet. Notice outlet is coming from React Router DOM. So this is part of React Router version 6, a trick we learned from Ember and put in React Router version 1. And then we had some ideas in version 4. Then we got rid of it. And then we got our new and old ideas and put them together in v6. And so outlet is back. So outlet says anything that the URL matches inside of this route folder, we're going to render that thing. And so at the moment, we're just at slash. So it's going to render the index. So that's where we're getting our welcome to Remix thing. This has some styles as well. So I'm going to import my styles from styles index CSS.
Well, before you do that, Ryan, yeah. What happens if I put a bunch of junk in the URL, right? Then I'm going to hit the 404.
Yeah.
Just to finish the conversation about what outlet is doing, right?
Oops.
Yeah. So outlet renders either the index component or the 404 component, depending on what the URL is.
Yeah,
right?
what you got in there.
It's a dynamic component.
Yeah, thank you. So now I've got these styles, but I'm down inside, right? I'm not in the HTML element anymore. So how do these routes that are down in the UI hierarchy participate up in the top layout? We've seen things like React Helmet, where you do a head in here, and you can do link, and then it'll at runtime it'll inject stuff up into the head. And this gets tricky with server rendering too, because then you've got to render first to figure out what's in there, and then get the string, and then put that stuff up there. It just gets kind of goofy. And we think it's pretty cool that our root component lets you control everything. So we've got this kind of special links component that works with your routes special API here. We can export a function called links, and this is going to get rendered inside of that links component in the root. And we're going to return here objects, but they're exactly like a link component, link element. So we're going to put a style sheet in here, and my href is my styles. So this is how your nested components can participate up in the top. There we go. We got a little bit of nice padding inside of there. Yeah, so kind of cool. Any kind of links you want. You could change the favicon if you wanted to. You can preload some assets. We even have API to block on assets. If you've got a really important image and you want to block before you get to this page, you can do that. But we're not going to look at everything because you don't want to be here for 32 hours. I don't know, maybe you do. But we'll show other stuff another time. All right, let's get back and let's add a route. So I'm going to come back to the root component, and I'm going to add some navigation. Put a header in here, put a nav. I'm going to bring in a nav link from React Router DOM. And so this is going to be, let's call this the dashboard, if I could spell it right, to slash. And then let's link to projects, and then maybe like an about page or something like that, right? Don't you love the new browser default styling? Okay, so I don't have anything at these routes yet, so I'm getting my 404. And this is kind of weird. The dashboard thinks that it's active. So we're going to say, no, you're only active when you're at the end. Your URL matches the end of the URL. So now that's not going to be active. So that's cool. Not project. I want projects with an S. Okay, I've got my projects here. What do I want to do? Well, I'm going to add my component. I want to add a new route. So adding a new route is just adding a new file right here. Whoa! Error. Routes project has no component. Please go out of default export. That's a beautiful error message. I created that error message down here with this error boundary. Every route in the hierarchy can export an error boundary, and then it uses React's component catch and error boundaries so that just this section of the page that blew up is the thing that has the error, and then the rest of the layout can work out just fine. Kind of cool. Okay, I'm going to export a default function like it told me to, and then we'll just return. I don't know. I think I'll do like I guess I'll do a section here, and then let's just say like projects. Can't spell. All right, there we go. I actually want to get a list of projects in here, so I'm going to put a nav in there and do some more nav links. And yeah, we'll do nav link again. And we're going to go somewhere, projects, and then like an ID, like 1 or 2 or something like that. And maybe this is like my under 14 soccer team that I started coaching. That doesn't look the way that it is supposed to. I'm not quite sure why. Look at my awesome CSS.
Did you get your, where do you put your projects link on the page? Yeah. Or no, the link to the styles.
Yeah, I got, I don't have my styles yet. Of course. Let me import my styles.
That's what I'm here for, Ryan.
Thank you.
Just, flying wingman.
And then we'll export our links. Yeah, if it doesn't look right, then you probably don't have your styles. Ooh, there we go. Beautiful.
Bada bing.
Okay, I'm just going to hard code some stuff first. I'm going to put this in my JavaScript bundle. So I'm going to say I've got some projects here. It's just this array. I'm going to have title like under 14 soccer, and then ID is like 1. And then we'll have another one like remix, and ID is 2. Map over these things. You've done this in React 1,000 times. Projects map project. And now we're going to actually interpolate over this, and we're going to say we're going to link to project ID. React Router v6 has relative link, so you don't have to put the whole path in there and concat the thing. You can just say, oh, from here, go a little bit lower. Project title. All right, here we go. Cool. So right now, this is in my JavaScript bundle. This is hard-coded in there, and this is kind of what static site generation is all about, is let's get all your data at build time, put it into your JavaScript bundles, and now everything is static. That can be kind of hard when your stuff is dynamic. You're behind a login. Michael talked about that earlier. So how do we move this from static to dynamic? Because I want to actually get this from a database when the request happens, because we're going to be adding these things. Check this out. We export function loader, and then I'm going to bring these up and return my projects. And that little movement there moved it from static to dynamic, moved it onto the server. I'm going to bring in a thing called useRouteData from Remix, right up there. And whatever this thing returns, that's what I'm going to get in my component. Just going to save this, and it looks good. It came from the server this time. Oh, I'm just going to put any. We don't care right now. We will put a real type in there in a minute. So this little function right here, this loader, when Remix builds, it actually does two builds. It does one for the server, one for the browser. And the browser build, this gets removed. It's not in it. So this only runs on the server. So when Remix needs to get data, it's going to go to the server and call that function. But in the browser, that stuff's not there at all. So it's pretty cool. I want to get this actually from my database. So I'm going to say, let's get rid of that. I can say my projects are await prisma. Oh, I don't have a prisma yet. Let's go at it. So come over to my app. I'm going to make a database TS file, import prisma client from prisma. There you are. Let prisma equal new prisma client. Export this thing. Now, I'm going to import that from my DB, and I can say, I'm going to get my Prisma projects, find many, and return that. Oh, bummer, it's empty. Okay, how do I add something to this? Well, I mean, first I can just kind of be nice here and say projects.length equals 0. And let's say no projects. Add some, put a little arrow down. This one looks good. And so we're going to add them with, let's just put a form in here. So I'm going to do a form, input type text, and let's see, placeholder is going to be a new project, or we'll say project title. Put an ARIA label on there because screen readers don't do great with placeholders. Project title. And I'm going to give this a name too, title. And then let's put our button in there. Add. Oh, I want that in the nav. There we go. Okay, so now I got this little thing. So what do forms do? There's a lot of bootcamp grads. Michael and I have done a lot of training, and we've trained a lot of bootcamp grads who are awesome. We love them. The bootcamps, however, don't teach people some stuff. Like what a form really does. So I could add a project like my U14 soccer right here. Hit enter. Look at the URL. You see what the browser just did? The browser parsed this form. It looked at this name and said, all right, we got a thing called title. I'm going to pull the value out of this. You've done this in your onSubmit handlers 1,000 times, but the browser can do it for you. And then it puts it up here in the URL, and then it navigates. So a form, by default in HTML, serializes all the values that the user put into it, makes a request, and then navigates to that new page. They don't just exist for onSubmit. But what do we normally do next in React? This is not what you do in Remix, but just for a thought exercise, think about what comes next. I want to somewhere write into this Prisma database, right? So I guess it's all going to start here on submit. Everybody wish me luck. I could do a fetch right from here. Where am I going to fetch to? I guess I'll make an API route, create project, and then I'm going to be like, okay, method is post, the body is, okay, I need the title is new project title. You're going to get that from project tile, I guess. Then we're going to JSON stringify this thing, and my palms are sweaty and sticking to my keyboard because I'm getting nervous.
You got a capital Y on your stringify.
Yeah. Well, I'm just, XML HTTP. Anyway.
It's so hard to remember the capital letters.
But where am I going to get new project tile? I guess I need to control this, right? And it's going to be like a set new project. Oh my gosh, put that in here. And now I'm going to have some state, project title, set title, and then this is use state. And then I'm going to be like, I need a pending state. I want to know that I'm loading. So I guess I'll be like set loading is true. So now I'm going to have another use state up here for if I'm loading. And then
the red lines actually help to like hide the pieces that you're adding.
And then once that's done, well, this is an async. I got to make this async. And once that's done, I guess I'm going to get the project out of here. I guess that's one. And then I'm going to like set projects, my old projects project. Shoot, I don't actually control this state. Remix just gave it to me. So I guess I'll have like state projects, set state projects equals another use state in here. Oh boy, it's getting really, and then I'll default it to whatever my framework gave me, but now I got to like copy it into here. Okay.
Yeah, let's just pause right here and appreciate the complexity of doing a data mutation completely client-side in JavaScript. Right? There's a lot of stuff that you have to think about.
Sucks.
You got loading state. Well, you got 3 different states up there. You got one for the title, one for the projects, and one for the loading. Yeah, right. And then you need another one for whether or not you've got an error on the page. So now you're bringing in a state machine or Redux or something because it's complex to manage that much state. It's asynchronous. There could be errors.
And then you're going to go make like abstractions over the top of the client-side stuff. Like, okay, I've always got an API route. I've got an API route somewhere over here. So now let's write some client-side code to like get rid of some of that boilerplate and then just call that thing, right? And so now we've got like use API fetch or something like that. It's like, oh, which one am I going to? And yeah. All right.
This is the current state of let's do data mutations with JavaScript because we forgot that the web is actually really good at data mutations already.
So we saw earlier that it can serialize that, put it in the URL. A post is the same thing, except for instead of serializing into the URL, it's going to put it in the post body. So you don't see it in the URL, you're going to see it down here in the network tab. When you make a post down there, it'll like say, here's the body of this post. So let's roll back the clock to 1998. Backstreet Boys, Nirvana. We're still mourning the death of Kurt Cobain. Blink-182 is hitting the scene. I wasn't a hip hop person when I was younger, but I love it now. But so I don't even know who there was.
Hip hop.
Yeah. What else did we have going on?
I was a grunge kid.
Yeah, we were grunge rockers. Pearl Jam. Well, TLC. I listened to a little bit of TLC because of my sister. Brandy. Yeah, that's all right. We're not. No, The Roots, Tribe Called Quest. There was some Bone Thugs and Harmony. 90s were it, man.
Montel Jordan.
All right, so we're gonna go back to that era, and we're gonna say, hey, I just want to post this, and I want to post it to projects. That's all I'm going to do. Come over here, and I'll say U14 soccer and hit enter. Whoa! We could work on this error message a bit. You made a post request to localhost projects, but did not provide an action for routes project, so there's no way to handle it. What just happened? Let's go handle that.
This is getting exciting now. Mutations, data mutations.
So we have a reader for state on the server. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a writer? People ask us all the time, what is the difference between Remix and the other stuff that's out there? You're about to see it. So I've got an action here now. I want to get a little bit of help from TypeScript. So I'm going to say action function junction. Make this thing async. I'm going to get action function from Remix. And then I'm going to bring in one more thing from Remix as well. Oh, I've already got it right here. Redirect. So just to get rid of the red lines, I'll talk about this in a second. So your API route that we were just talking about before, that like create project thing, you are already going to have to write this code. This code would already exist somewhere. Now it gets to be part of your React app. So I'm going to get a request in here. And you're going to think, well, what is that? Is it an Express request? Is it an AWS Lambda request? Is it a happy request? Is it a sad request? What is all this? I'm glad Michael's here so he can enjoy my jokes. Let me show you something.
I'm just thinking now I need to go make a web server named Sad.
Yes.
The antithesis of happy.
All right. So what is this? What is this request? We're going to talk about two things here. So try to hang with us for a minute. Michael talked about adapters and how we can deploy anywhere. This is the trick. This is how we do it. And we keep talking about web fundamentals. So far, what we're talking about with fundamentals is HTTP, a GET or a POST request. So the loader gets a GET, and the action gets POST, and put, delete, and patch if you really want to use those ones. Those don't work with HTML though. Those need JavaScript because of the browsers. But anyway, so we're already building on these fundamentals of HTML and HTTP. Those are like old fundamentals that we think are super important still. And so we've embraced them. But there are new fundamental pieces too. So when we say fundamentals, we don't just mean, the grunge era web development. We mean the fundamentals of today as well. So you already know what this request is because you have been constructing them for a long time. Fetch projects, and then you're going to say method is post, and body is write some body in there. Actually, let's put a JSON string in there. We'll say the title is U14 soccer.
Whoa, handcrafted JSON.
Yeah, we're getting serious here. So this right here, these two arguments, these represent a request, a web request. And in fact, I'm going to not say fetch. I'm going to say let request equal new request. It's the exact same API, same arguments. I hit enter, and now I've got this request thing. Has the body been used? No. What's the status, or not status, what's the method of this thing? It's a post, because I said post. Check this out. Await request.json. All this stuff is just built in to the browser already. In fact, you can just go to MDN, fetch API, and there's a whole, they've got all these objects. And so we like day one of Remix, we started building some stuff, and we started building this little idea of an adapter. And I had this terrible idea of using delegates. And Michael was like, what if we used the fetch API?
Well, I was just copying what I saw the Cloudflare workers API doing? I still remember when I saw that API, I was like light bulbs are going off in my head. Like, oh, it's not just fetch, but fetch comes with request and response primitives. And if we just use those, we've already got a consistent model for handling requests and responses, and we can build servers with that. And that's consistent with, the same primitives that you're using on the web. So, eventually we're going to be running Remix offline apps on the web. This is like super future stuff, but we're not, honestly, we're not that far off from running, using the exact same request response model anywhere.
Yeah.
We can run it in Node, we can run it in a Cloudflare worker, we can run it in a service worker in your browser. It's going to be really cool.
So we didn't even mean to do this while we were building Remix. We were just like, oh, it'd be cool to use these fetch API primitives inside of our loaders and actions. And now we accidentally built this little set of tools that normalizes all of the JavaScript servers out there. Whether you're deploying to Vercel or an Express app or AWS or Azure or Netlify, they all have their own request response objects. And we built these adapters that turn them all into the Web Fetch API, which is actually a cool project all in and of itself. Which, I don't know, maybe one day we'll just extract that out and like make it an open source project or something. Yeah, kind of cool. So I've got one of these requests in here. So Remix created this request. And so I'm going to get the text out of here. So I'll await my request.text. And then there's another API in the browser, and I guess it's in Node too, is URL search params. I guess I'll just do this.
Yeah, that's another really nice web primitive.
And now I can get the title. Whoop. So forms by the browser automatically get serialized into one of these URL search param strings. That's the body of the request that the browser makes. And so this request text is going to be one of those search param things. So I'm going to actually just say, this is a new URL search params. Like, how many libraries are they on NPM for this kind of a thing?
Yeah. Let me go parse the URL. There's like at least 7 of them. Yeah.
So now I've got this body, and I can say await prisma.project create. I say the data is title, body get title. And TypeScript's going to be mad. We do not have time to get into form validation and error messages. It is really awesome in Remix, but we just don't have the time for it. Short answer is you use sessions, use server state for that stuff right inside of your loaders because we're talking to the server. And we think sessions are another one of those fundamental things that are super important. Local storage is cool, but we can do more interesting things with an older technology.
If you're interested in what it looks like to work with sessions in Remix, because I don't think we're going to get to it today, right?
Yeah, no, we're not going to look at it today.
But I gave a talk at React Summit just earlier this month, actually, which I'll find that and link to it in the chat. But it's working with this. We have a great API for working with sessions and using server state.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, here we go. Let's see if it works. I'm going to hit enter. Oh, dang. Remix launch. Look at this. It's awesome. Add. Boink. Okay. So, you see what code we wrote? We made a form. We said post it here. And then Remix called this action on the server. Parse the URL. Go talk to your database. Prisma's not Remix. That's an ORM that I brought in. And then we just go right back to the projects page. A lot of times people ask us why we do this. We require a redirect here so that you don't have to do that, like, do not click the back button or you'll book another flight or your card will be charged twice. Since we own the front and the back end, we can enforce a better user experience like that. Anyway, I don't want to get super into that because we have so much other stuff to get to. Which is what? Where am I going next? Just checking my notes here. Yeah. Okay. Let's go make this page. I'm gonna click on this. Under 14 soccer. Oh man, we don't have anything there. All right. Let's go add something. So this URL, you'll notice has this 1 up here. So I want to parse that out and use that as information to go find it for my database. So under my routes, I'll make a new file. Actually, I'm not going to make a new file because I want this layout to persist. This is another thing where people are like, oh, what makes Remix different? React Router has built-in layout support with the URL, and so Remix does too. I'm going to show you what that means. And we're still struggling to emphasize just how cool this is, these nested routes when you have a server, and hopefully we can communicate some of that today. But I'm going to add a folder here called projects. So now I've got a folder and a file called projects. Seems kind of weird. Add a file here, and this is going to be id.tsx. So let's export default function project and return a main in here. And we'll say project title goes here. I just got an email from LinkedIn this morning. If you follow me on Twitter, it's so funny. The name of the subject in the email was replace with your subject line. It was just cracking me up. And then they put the subject line in the person who sent the to field. Anyway, I thought it was hilarious.
They're trying to appeal to developers. It was a bit of developer humor for you.
I guess so. All right, so I'm going to click on under 14 soccer. Okay, no longer do I get a 404, but I didn't see my stuff. What the heck? Well, just like our root component, our root route, we needed to put this, this outlet here. Now projects, because there's a folder with the same name, this is now a layout route. This route is going to wrap a bunch of child routes. And so the way to render those is to put them inside of an outlet. So we got to say, hey, you're a layout route. You're going to have some child routes that might be active. So put them here. Woohoo! Got my project. I'm going to think I'm done navigating files. Give myself a little more room here. So now I'm going to go fetch that. So I'll come over to my, so what happened? This $ID, Remix parses that out of the URL, and now it's going to pass it into our loader. So I'm going to export function loader. Actually, I'm going to get a little help from TypeScript again.
My #1 feature request to TypeScript would be to let me add a type when I use the function keyword.
For real. Yeah.
You know, so I don't have to change everything to a let declaration.
Actually,
whatever.
just type a whole module.
Yes, type a whole module. That would be amazing. Then I wouldn't have to write any of these types.
Yeah.
So you're going to want to get the params out of here, right?
Yeah. I was just going to say, Michael talked me off the cliff once where I was like, well, we can't type modules, so maybe we should like export default class project and then just do a bunch of static functions in here. And he was like, no. And he was right. Okay.
Tree shaking.
All right, so what do we get inside of here? So type's going to help us. We already saw a request comes into loader. Params also come in. So these params are going to, like I've been saying, get parsed off of that. So I'm going to bring in Prisma again. And I'm just going to return Prisma project find unique. Again, this is Prisma, not Remix. And we're going to say where the ID is number params.id. So that URLs are always strings, so like you have to typecast back and forth sometimes. And now I bring in my user route data again. And we're going to say that this is a project. Get that from Prisma. Thank you. Oh, yeah, see, give me a break. I wish it would know that it was only a type. All right. Oh, I did that backwards. All right, we got our project. We just want one. Whoop. And then in here, it's going to be project.title. Okay, cool. Let's add some checkboxes to this thing. So I'm going to say UL, and then I want like an LI in here, and then I want an input type checkbox. And then, I don't know, buy the nets. That looks great. And then I'm going to have another one that is to just add a new one. Name equals title. Placeholder is new task. Okay, that looks cool. That was disabled, so this will look nice. So I want to be able to type here, hit enter, and then have that go. So that means I'm going to need a form. So I'm going to put a form around this. And method is going to be post again. I can leave the action off, and it's just going to post to this route, the default. That's also what browsers do by default. Yeah, so come up here, add my action. Action function. Thank you. This is async. Get our request in here. Do what we did last time. I should probably have made a snippet or something like that. And then we will let prisma tasks. Oop. We're going to create a task here, and we'll have some data on it. And we'll say its title is body get title. Once again, we're just telling TypeScript, hey, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. What do you want? Oh, it needs a project ID. I want to get that from here. Oh, actually, I don't need that. I can get that from the params. I'm at this URL.
Yeah. Params.id.
Which problem? Oh, thanks. Return a redirect.
Thanks, TypeScript.
Yeah, for real. And we're going to redirect back to projects, params ID.
Yeah.
How am I looking? Boom, boom, boom.
I think it looks good.
Boom, boom, boom.
Quest.text. Yeah.
And then, actually, I want a loader. I have my project, but I want to get the tasks from, actually from here. So I'm going to say include tasks true. And now my type, I think, is going to flip out on me. So I have a special one, project with tasks. And then we're going to say project tasks.map task. Put my li up in there. And actually put its title in there. Wish me luck. Buy some goals. Enter. Ooh. Schedule practices. Dude. Works. I hope you're all ready for this. Michael, do you think they understand what's happening yet? What I'm about to tell them? I think a few people might.
I think some people have been hinting about it in the chat.
Oh, have they?
Yes.
Notice what's going on.
It's fine. I think the vast majority of people are really going to like it. I think a few people have kind of hinted at it, but I still think it's going to be a surprise.
We got one thumbs down right now, and I'm hoping that person's still on. And that thumbs up, like they switch.
So maybe they can remove it.
Yeah, this is my goal right now. I have a secret. Look at the network tab. What is not here?
Click on that. Click on the JS.
I'm going to wait the 10-second lag that you get. What? We got 2 thumbs downs?
Oh, 3 now. Oh, wait, 2. No, it's 2.
You jerk.
Somebody's on the fence. Somebody's on the fence.
Oh, so people like JS. They're like, I want JS on the page. I want a JavaScript framework, not a web framework.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay.
I was
So
hoping we're gonna put a meg of JavaScript on the page. I'm really disappointed.
so we are not anti-JavaScript, by the way. We did not like we're not trying to build a static site or anyway, whatever. Let me go put JavaScript on the page. And we're going to talk about why we got 8 thumbs down. This is cracking me up. It's only because I brought it up, and now everyone's like, "I'm going to troll him."
Bunch of noobs, man. Just ignore them. Bunch of noobs.
It still hurts. Like this, even sarcastic. It just hurts a little bit. So Remix, as we said when we looked at this root component in the first place, it puts you in charge. You are in charge of the network tab. This is yours. Like, we want you to own your server. We want you to own your entry points. We want you to own this network tab. The JavaScript frameworks today, man, you go to a website and they download the whole dang website, like everything, hundreds of megs sometimes. It's crazy. So anyway, you're in charge. So I'm going to bring in scripts from Remix, and then I'm going to put these scripts on the page.
Yeah.
And now,
note that, by the way, I just want to make it clear when we do this, our goal is not like,
yes,
what if they don't have JavaScript enabled in their browser, right? Like that's
not the goal.
Not a concern of ours, right? The fact of the matter is that we didn't need any JavaScript to build any of the stuff that we already did. We just didn't need it. So so why put it on there if it just doesn't need to be there, right?
Right.
And then we should ask the question, well, why might we want some script on the page, right?
Yeah, so check this out. Here's why. So I just took it off again, and this is annoying. I hit enter, and where's focus? Way up here. If I'm a keyboard user, which I am very regularly, this is terrible. If you're a screen reader user, that's also terrible. Like sometimes people think, oh, if you add JavaScript, you're automatically making it less accessible. If you know what you're doing, it's kind of not all that great. In this UI anyway, I'm trying to build a cool little app. That's not, I mean, anyway, I'm like, I keep almost getting on my accessibility soapbox because I can go all sorts of directions on that. Anyway, the point is, we can make this a much better user experience for everybody, people using assistive tech or not. I mean, technically a mouse is still assistive tech, right? But anyway.
Oh, totally. My keyboard assistive tech.
So I'm going to add some JavaScript on the page because it would be better if the focus just stayed right here. This is cool. Hit enter. Oh, did I not reload? I didn't save, I don't think. Oh. Yeah. I am using lowercase form. So now it's time to say, we're putting JavaScript on the page to make this better. We're going to give this form superpowers and make it capital F form. We bring that in from Remix. Right there. So capital F form is a whole lot like link and anchor, right? Link uses React Router to navigate around. Anchor doesn't. So capital F form uses React Router and Remix. Lowercase form just uses the browser. So at this point, all of Remix's design is not just based on how HTML and HTTP work, but it's literally the implementation as well. And then when we bring this capital F form, we emulate that behavior. So Remix is now going to be in charge with JavaScript of serializing your form, making a fetch request without doing a full page reload. So this gets really cool. All right, check it out. All right, my focus is still there. This is where people are like, oh yeah, JavaScript, you just screw things up. And yeah, we kind of did. That's a little bit weird right there. So Remix isn't going to give you these superpowers without giving you a way to deal with this kind of weird stuff. So I want to be able to clear out this form field after I submit the thing. So I'm going to bring in a thing called use pending form submit from Remix. Whenever there's a form that's pending, Remix is going to populate this object with that pending submit. And then when the submit is done, when the navigation's over, that thing's going to go away. And then I'm also going to put a little replace on here because I don't actually want to add a whole bunch of entries in my browser history and make the user like have to click back 1,000 times. That's another thing that you can't do with just an HTML form. This is why we'd want to bring JavaScript in, because not only does the focus move from this, but you have to click back 1,000 times. Like, look at my history stack. It's ridiculous. It's all every time I made one of those. So we don't want that. We need JavaScript to make these UX improvements. So now I've got my form replace. I've got my pending form submit. And I'm going to bring in a little use effect from React. I'm going to say, all right, whenever I've got a pending form submit, I'm going to say, all right, if I have one, let's get a ref. And let's clear it out. I know I could use like state or something, but I don't care. I've gotten lazy with my React. And we're going to say HTML input element, put a null in there, make TypeScript happy. Oops, not input. And then put the ref down here on this thing. I think I just called it ref, right? Yeah. Oh, that's right. Ref.current.value is what I meant to do. Okay, so when a pending form submit comes in, that means that we just submit the form. You might have thought, well, why didn't you put it on submit here? Well, if I clear it inside of there, then the value's gone and then we won't post it. So that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to use an effect and just say, hey, if we got a new submit, then go clear that thing out. One thing that I've loved building with Remix is I get to do the fun parts of React now. There's the fun parts of React, and then there's the stuff that I hate doing. And the stuff I hate doing is like talking to the server, getting my data, making sure everything updates on the page that I need, all that kind of junk. But these little interactions, like making this UX really smooth, that's where I have a ton of fun building websites. And that's the only kind of React you really have to write in Remix. All right, so I'm going to save this, and let's try it now. Cool. I don't know if you're catching it on the live stream, but there's a little bit of jank. So I'm gonna emphasize it. We're gonna say new promise, set timeout, response. Let's give it a second and a half, just to see what that jank is.
Feel it good.
Here we go. See that? So I submit the form. Boop, we get jank because this gets cleared out, but the form hasn't processed and we haven't reloaded the data yet. So that kind of feels gross. So maybe I want it to go the other way. When we don't have the pending form submit, when it's done, maybe that's when we should clear it out. And that's a way to go too. Check this out. I hit enter. Gross. I don't really know. Hit enter. 3, 2, 1. That's not what I want either. All right. So how do we fix this?
Which one is worse?
We have two choices. Choice one is we use some pending UI. We put a spinner up or something, or say, hey, we're loading, we're processing. There's another concept called optimistic UI. In our workshops, we used to make fun of this idea just a little bit, because a lot of times when people write optimistic UI, they'll just hope that it works, but they don't deal with it when it doesn't work. So optimistic UI is saying 99.9% of the time it's going to work. So let's just update the UI to look that way. And then if there's a problem, let's alert the user like, oh, hey, sorry, that thing didn't actually work. So how does Remix help you do optimistic UI? We already have this pending submit. That's how you do pending UI. We're going to do some optimistic UI. Check this out. We're going to say, well, we know what these things look like, right? Oh, you know what? I need an ARIA label on here. And then I don't need to open that up too. See, accessibility helps everybody. I've got this pending form submit. There's some stuff on here. Action, data, enc type, method. So it tells you everything about this submit that's out there. You can see what's going on with it. So let's come here to this list item. We know what it's going to look like when it shows up. So let's just copy one of those. And let's say if we have a pending form submit, let's make an optimistic list item. We're going to say this is disabled because we don't want them like clicking this thing. That's actually our pending UI. That's the thing that like tells you if it's ready or not. And then this task.title, this is the tricky part. We don't have a task yet. That's the whole point. So we're going to get it from our pending form submit. This data property is a form data, which again, I don't have key props. This is also built into browsers. A form data. And you can actually give it a form and it'll automatically turn that into a form data object. So that's what Remix does. And then it exposes that form data to you on this pending form submit. So I'm going to say get the title. Now watch how our UI behaves. Way better. Hit enter, 3, 2, 1, enter. That's cool. Is that nice?
Whoa. Do that with, well, so I don't mean to sound like too cocky here or whatever, but that's really cool, right? So some people, when they see, when they see a thing like this, they'll be like, oh, well, we just need like better primitives in HTML to be able to describe, what we want to happen, right? So, if you were going to describe this behavior, in an HTML attribute, it would actually be quite difficult to say like, okay, well, so when this form over here submits, I want a new item to show up over here, but the checkbox is going to be grayed out until the form comes back with a 200, and then the checkbox is going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a lot of logic to try and encode, all the different scenarios and all the things that you want to happen and have that fine-grained control using HTML attributes. There are some things where you can totally do that, right? You can add focus, autofocus attributes and things to HTML elements. But that level of control really helps to have a scripting language on the page. So that's a great example of why you might want to put JavaScript on the page. Optimistic UI.
So just kind of like sit back and think, if you're using Create React app, or all you had was just client-side stuff, you didn't have this framework behind you like Remix, like, what would this code look like? That optimistic UI, that pending indication right there, clearing out this input, talking to the back end. This is the whole component. You just have a tiny function on the back end, your API route. You have this little function, and I understand we aren't doing error handling and validation, and that would add some lines, but it's not going to like complicate the workflow. We just have this little action right there. And then the only React we wrote was just asking Remix for stuff. Give me my data. Do we have a pending form? Because I'm going to do some optimistic stuff. And then I need a little ref to clear out the thing when they submit the form. And then it's just off to the races.
Yeah.
I sometimes, after I'm building stuff with Remix, I honestly sit back and I'm like, I cannot believe that Michael and I built this. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to work with. How are we doing on time? 2:10. We started at 1. Okay. We told people it's going to be about 90 minutes, and we're looking good. I'm going to implement these checkboxes. Oh no, I want to show you one more thing.
We are down to 4 thumbs down in the chat. So
well, I just disabled JavaScript again, so we're going to get some more.
We're pleased with your optimistic UI.
Yeah, we're going to get some thumbs downs again because I just disabled JavaScript.
Every time I draw attention to it.
Check it out. I hit enter. This still works. So when you hear people talk about progressive enhancement, this is what we all hoped for 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and we started talking about progressive enhancement. Make stuff still work. So in Remix, if you stick to these declarative primitives, form and links and actions and loaders, you can actually get IE 11 support for your basic feature set. That's a reason to get rid of those thumbs downs. Oh, we got more? You want to support IE 11?
These people care about IE 11, man.
Yeah, I guess so. But well, yeah, so they can still support it. So anyway, I think this is pretty cool. That it's not just we based it on these ideas; we actually used them.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get JavaScript back on there. And now we're going to implement these checkboxes, and
Oh yeah.
we'll call it a day. So this is where we're going to veer off of this works without JavaScript. And we're going to do some stuff that's only happening client side. So I could put a little form around each one of these checkboxes if I wanted to. But when you click a checkbox, it doesn't submit with just HTML, right? So we could change them into buttons and have a form if that's how we wanted to do this and support no JavaScript. But like we said earlier, that's not what we're trying to do. We just think it's easier to think about it when you think that way. So I'm going to use a little thing called useSubmit. I'm going to bring that in from, React does not have that. Remix has that. And then I'm going to come into each one of these checkboxes. And I'm going to say, first I got to get my submit. So useSubmit is a way to imperatively call submit. Just like link is a declarative way to navigate, and navigate in React Router 6 or history.push is an imperative way to do it. We've got form, with a capital F, and then we've got this submit function. So this is how you can submit a form without having the form. So I will say this checked is going to be coming from task.complete. And then we're going to say on change, get our event in here. We're going to submit complete is whatever event.target.checked is. And this is going to be Matt's going to say, hey, I need a string in here because this is going into a URL. And then I'm also going to need to know, actually, that's all I need to know because we already know we need the task ID. And then we'll put the ID on this thing and we'll say task.id. That also needs to be a string. And then the second set of options, so this first set is the data that you're sending, kind of your form data. And then the second set of options are the attributes that would go to a form. So this is going to be a method. I'm actually going to do put on this one, just, feeling crazy. And then we're going to do a replace true on here too, because we don't want to add entries into the history stack. And then that looks good, so I'll submit that. Let's come up to our action. And now we're going to say, let's switch on request.method to lowercase, because I never know if it's going to be upper or lower. Some APIs make it lower, some make it upper. And we're going to say, if this is a post, let's do what we were doing before. We're making one of these. And then if this is a put, we're going to say, await prisma task update, I think. And we do a where. So close.
Where?
And we're going to say body get ID. It's going to be mad. It wants that to be a number. And the TypeScript's going to be mad because it doesn't exist. We're going to say complete is, we're going to parse this one because it came in as a string. And body get complete. Wait a sec. That's in the wrong spot. I got to say data on this. Okay, I think that's right. So I send the ID and complete. Come up here to my action. We're going to find it by its ID as a number. And then we're going to say that it's complete. Yeah, that looks right.
Does the checkbox have a name of complete on it?
No, but we don't need it because we're just
Oh, you're
Yeah.
using you submit. Sorry, of
Okay.
course.
And then our checkbox is checked based on if the task is complete. So let's give it a shot. Reload. Cool. You see the jank? I don't know if you see the jank. We got some jank again. That's what happens when you start doing stuff in the browser. You get jank. I shouldn't have gotten rid of my, wait, new promise. Let's slow it down. Haha, you see what's going on? It's our optimistic UI from our posts because we have a pending submit in there. No problem, we can fix that. So we come over here.
That's right.
Yeah, right here, pending form submit. Method equals post.
Yeah.
Just to be safe. All right, so now we're not going to show that little thing when we're doing these updates.
Only on the posts.
Yep. And again, we don't have time to like deal with like, I'm going to click all these super fast and stuff like we should, but we have ways to deal with that. Let me get rid of this one right there. And one last thing I want to talk about. I'm going to go back to the index. Let me go to projects actually and just copy some code. Go to the index file. Let's soup up. No. Sorry. I want to do something on the projects page first. I want to add a little count here for how many tasks there are and how many are complete, because this is a thing in React. Like, it's a whole thing. All right, here we go. Here's our project. And then we're going to say we've got, I'm going to put it in a small. I almost changed this to that, but TypeScript got mad and I didn't want to deal with that. But anyway. And we're going to say project.tasks. Oh, this is going to be a project with tasks. We're on the home stretch. Find many, include tasks. I got to tell you, Prisma has just impressed the heck out of me. I feel like I got Rails level abstractions again. Like, it's been a long time since I had that feeling, which is cool.
Yeah.
So if it's not complete, or no, it is complete. T.complete. Sorry, Kent, if you're still watching this, I put a single character thing in there. And then project.task.length. Oh, that's right. This needs a length on the end. Not map. I want filter. Filter. That was another 90s band. That's why I say, amen, nice shot.
Isn't that the one where he went running around the plane?
Yeah.
You want to take my picture?
Oh, no, that's a different one. But yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, check it out. Okay, cool.
Fascinating.
I'm going to click this button. Hey. Wait. This is a totally different component. Way up higher. How did that update? I'm sorry, Jamie. My wife here. Sorry, he's asking where's the dog. My wife took the dog because he gets real loud sometimes, and I'll put him in the next live stream if you'll join me.
My dog is barking in the back. I don't know if
can't hear it. I think we're good.
Which dog he's talking about, but
so this is a whole thing in React, right? Like this is why we bring in Redux and I can't even keep track of the names of all of them. And some of the things that Apollo does, or why you bring in these things like use query. You build these abstractions because you're like, I got data on the server, but when I change it down here, this is a lower component, right? This is lower in the hierarchy, and I need to update the data up higher too. Here is some really cool stuff that Remix does for you. We made trade-offs, so it doesn't do everything that your client-side caches do, but it does solve many of the same problems, just in a different way, and maybe in a way you haven't thought about before. And we think that the trade-off is awesome, and it kind of sticks with the way that websites have worked throughout our careers, and that's how we like to think about it. So Remix is always based on URLs. Everything's about URLs. From the assets, you notice that CSS that we brought in, we didn't inject it into the head. You have a URL that's highly cacheable across pages on the CDN, so across users. Oh, do I still have a thing up here? Same band, but different. Sorry, I lost my train of thought thinking about filter again. So I want to show you. I need to go over to our dashboard, and I'm going to show you something kind of cool here. So come back to index, not index CSS. Actually, this is kind of interesting. Nah, I don't want to tick people off about my funky CSS.
Your opinions about CSS? That'll have to wait for a separate video.
All right, so we're going to bring in Prisma and project. We're going to load all these again. Find many. And then projects, user out data. Whoa, no, get out of here. You kidding me? Don't you dare show your face here. Man, we broke up a long time ago.
Delete.
What are you doing at my house? Let's do like recent activity. Drop a UL in here. LI. I can't remember what this is supposed to look like. I hope that it looks good. Let's do some sparkles. I'm gonna go get an icon from Hero Icons. This will look great. Yeah. Function sparkles. Oops. Yips. And we're gonna call you an icon. Such an icon. We're gonna have our sparkles in here. And then we're gonna say something like, you created project.title. And let's iterate all of those things. Oop. Oh, it wants to know what it is. What is it? It's a project. Did I get that from the right place? I did not. Oh, let's try again. I want it from there. Oh, and it's an array. Thank you. Thank you, TypeScript. Okay.
Whoa, you're importing your type from .prisma client?
Yeah, it's wacky.
Yeah.
Now this, actually, let's make this part a link. And drop that in. We're going to link over to our project.
Yep. Project.id.
Okay. See how quick that is? CSS is now the hard part. Okay, I'm going to click here. Lots of stuff just happened, right? So think about how many components are on the page at that point. I'm going from this screen to the other one. We loaded data here and we loaded data here. So I would expect down here in my network tab, this thing's going to be, again, these are all just my key. I didn't put keys on stuff, but I don't care. Watch what we do in the network tab when we come from the index to a project. Oh, I'm just looking at, there we go. XHR. We made 2 requests. One for all the projects, this. We can see it right here. Here are all the projects. And then another request for these. So we run these in parallel. This might not sound super significant to you. You're like, well, yeah, of course you should do it in parallel. You cannot do that if you're doing use effect fetching. And in fact, you can log into the dashboard of a lot of popular things in the React ecosystem, and you will see this kind of thing happen in your network tab, a waterfall. Because what happens is you go to a page, first it downloads code split bundles, then those bundles evaluate and render. And then they call use effect, and then they go fetch data, and you've got spinners on the page. And then your outlet or your child route or the next component shows up. And now that component renders, that one has a fetch inside of a use effect. And then once that thing has its data and it's no longer a spinner, then it has a child component. And that component has a use effect fetch. And so you get this waterfall, is what we call it, of fetching of these dependencies. It's like a dependency chain. It's impossible, pretty much, if you're doing use effect fetching inside of components. And this is what the fancy compilers for Relay and I think Urkel is talking about doing something like that. Apollo has some stuff for this. There are other approaches where it's like, let's just render over and over and over and over until we collect everything that we know we're going to need to fetch, and then try to fetch it all at once. In Remix and React Router, we know your routes, which are your layouts. Your layouts are the boundaries of data 99 out of 100 times. The data here is in that layout. The data here is in that layout. The user data is going to be in the top layout. And you don't need to do this use effect waterfall fetching when you know the routes up front. So our secret weapon in Remix is we have an estimation of your render tree before we render. So that means we can kick off not just the data, but we can kick off the code split bundles in parallel too. So when we know these two routes are going to go on the page, we bundle up this stuff, say, okay, for this route, you're going to need this bundle and this data. And for this route, you're going to need this bundle and this data. All right, you two async functions, go. And now we got to fetch everything as optimally as possible. Not just that, however. Now watch what happens in the network tab. I'm already on this page. When I click one of these links, just think to yourself, what changes on the page? Well, only this, right? So I click on the Remix launch. We only fetch the data for the layouts that are changing. There's no need to go refetch this thing. If your framework doesn't have a layout primitive that's connected to data, every time you switch pages, you are re-downloading everything for that page. But with Remix, we can optimize that. So we only download the pieces that you need. So now you're asking yourself, well, when you click this button, how does it know to go and update that? Well, let me clear this out and call your attention to the network tab again. When I click this, notice what we get. We get this fetch. This is our put. This is updating the data. That's calling the action. And then we get two fetches afterward to get the projects and to get the one we're looking at. When you use submit, and form, and since they are modeled as navigations, Remix knows, oh, you're mutating data. I bet some other stuff on the page might have changed. And in fact, now is a good time to go ask the server for fresh stuff for everything. So you don't got to screw around with Redux, recursive rendering to pull out all of your data requirements, fancy compilers, new query languages, client-side caches to go expire something to make sure that it gets fetched next time instead of not getting fetched when you click between these two things. Oh, don't fetch it, put it in a client cache. You don't deal with any of that stuff. Remix knows your layouts.
Mountains of complexity avoided. Because you submitted a form and that constitutes a mutation. And so we decided, let's go and fetch all the data for the other loaders too, because something probably changed.
Yep.
Right. It's you don't have to go and invalidate your cache. The browser already has a cache for your data. It's
cool.
Very simple model.
That's it. That's what I've got for you in this demo. I hope that answered the question. What makes Remix different? It is wildly different. There are 100 things that we didn't even get to.
No, there's like 500 things we didn't even get. Every time I talk about Remix, I'm just like, do you have another hour?
Yeah, we can give you more control over these transitions. You've got to, like, oh my gosh, there's so much cool stuff that you can do. I'm gonna switch back over to just both of us. Michael, you want to talk about the licensing? This is a big question that we always get. Is like, okay, yeah, Remix looks cool, but like it should be open source. And we just kind of want to address
100%.
that.
So
we got you.
Yeah, so since day one, when we started Remix, we've had the question about the licensing, right? People who have followed Ryan and I for the last 5 or 6 years, they're used to everything that we do is for free, and it's awesome. Open source software is incredibly enabling. It's incredibly powerful. We're using a ton of open source software to build Remix itself. We believe in open source software, and we've built and maintained several open source libraries for a long time now.
Yeah, we got millions of users of our open source.
Yeah, millions of users of our open source. Unpackaged does 3 billion requests a day. Reach UI is used by countless people. React Router. So we've given away a lot of software, and some people, when they saw Remix, were kind of concerned about that. The fact that we're charging for it. So I just want to say 2 things about that. Number one is that it is not bad to charge for something, like for your work. If you want to do something full time, you have to charge for it, right? So Ryan and I want to work on this full time. Essentially, what you get when you're buying Remix is you get Ryan and Michael as part of your team, right? So who knows how many man hours and sorry for the gendered term, but hours that people have spent on this, and money and time that you've spent building these abstractions for your product, whatever you're working on. We think there's a lot of value there, buying into Remix and getting Ryan and Michael on your team and building this piece of your infrastructure for you. Okay, you're never going to have to think about routes or code splitting or any of that stuff again. It's all going to be done for you. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. Is number one, we think we're providing a ton of value. And also all of that awesome open source work that I just talked about, like React Router, Remix is going to get React Router v6 over the finish line, and is going to make it 100 times better than it ever would have been had we not done Remix.
Well, and form, you submit, loader, action, all that stuff's coming to React Router. You just don't have a backend piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. So React Router is going to get way better because of the 400 plus people who have already signed up to use Remix, which again, I want to give them a huge thank you, because you people are like part of this experiment that we're doing and helping to drive things forward. The second thing that I wanted to say is that with our licensing, our goal is not to build a sustainable business on the back of these indie licenses. So right now we have indie licenses and we have corporate or business level licenses. Our goal is, to make the indie license affordable so that you can actually try it out. But our eventual goal is to, for you to use it at work, to get business licenses, to sell business licenses for Remix. And if we achieve that goal, I would love to make Remix absolutely free for individual developers, the indie license. It's hard to do that right now because we're still very small and we're starting out. But our goal is not to make money on the individual licenses. Our goal is to make money on the corporate licenses, and I think that we can get there. But again, it's going to take your support. So I just wanted you to know those 2 things. As far as what the license looks like and what it allows you to do, we're still working on that. But the general idea is you buy a license to use Remix on unlimited projects. And then the license lasts for either a year right now on the corporate licenses, or 2 years on the individual license, on the indie license. And then if you ever let the license expire, then you can still obviously use Remix. The registry, Ryan said we have a private NPM registry. You can still download the last version of Remix that you had access to from our registry forever. Right? So your app will still work, your CI will still work, everything will still work. You just don't get future updates to the software. So
except for critical security patches, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Critical security patches, we could throw those in there. So that's kind of what the license looks like, and that's what Ryan and I are hoping to achieve. So I've also heard, in addition to like the people who are kind of like concerned that we were charging for it, I've also heard from a lot of people out there who are really enthusiastic and who are really encouraged by the fact that we're charging for it. If you've worked on open source, you are familiar with the toll that it can take on you personally, on your family, on your work. And lots of times the only path forward for people who are working on open source is to go and find somebody to hire them, to pay them to work on that open source. I don't need to mention names or projects of people this has happened to. If you've got your eyes open and you're looking around, you can totally see this happens repeatedly again and again and again. And for some reason that's just not our style. Ryan and we're independent. We've been working for ourselves for the last 5 or 6 years. We think that we are creating enough value with Remix that we are really bringing it for our customers. And so we're taking the independent route. It would be super easy for Ryan or myself to go and get some job at whatever Amazon or Microsoft or whatever is going on. And I'm not downplaying the people who've taken that route. I have a ton of respect for a lot of people who have taken that route. It's just not our style. And so we're bringing a ton of value with Remix, and we're excited to see how this plays out. And I think it's working so far. And I think a lot of people are going to be encouraged by it. And I think we may see hopefully some positive change in the open source ecosystem. It doesn't always have to be about, like we can build a sustainable future for open source by just, figuring out the business models around open source.
Yeah.
And
I'll jump in real quick here, Michael.
Goal.
So Jamie has a good question here. Are we allowed to contribute to it? Yeah, so even though it's going to be a commercial license, we are going to open it up to our customers who want to contribute to it, fix bugs for us. Like, we will take it. We're just a couple of guys right now. But at the moment, we don't have the infrastructure for all of that. And like Michael said, we're still working on the license with the lawyer to make sure it's all right. But and there are open source commercial licenses, like GPL and stuff like that. So we're trying to make it as open as we possibly can. And especially for our customers, they're going to have access to the source. We love the docs typo fixes that we'll get. But then also digging in when we've got a really nasty bug would be awesome. And like we said earlier, we're trying to bring as much over to our open source as we can back into React Router, because a whole bunch of it will go there.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Michael?
Yeah, just a couple things I wanted to say. I mean, if you're still with us at this point in the live stream, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're going to be doing a lot more of these live streams in the future. Like Ryan was saying, we barely scratched the surface. We've got opinions about a lot of stuff, and we think that's going to make your development life a lot, more productive, and you're going to be happy with it. So please go ahead and subscribe. We also have a newsletter on remix.run where you can sign up for our newsletter. And maybe even purchase a license. That would be awesome. And then if you do, we'll see you in the Discord chat. And thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thanks, everybody.